The first part of any reconstruction of a boat is actually the backbone. So we're talking the keel and the hog. This includes the deadwoods between these two. Above the hog, deadwoods and keel, sits the aft knee and also the transom behind that. From this aft position, the keel stretches all the way to the stem at the bow. That is the backbone. It's like the backbone of your body, your feet, your head and our spine. And that's what we want to reconstruct first. This is our first major component that we've taken out of the boat, the keel and the hog together. It's been a sort of field job. How is it going to come apart? How is it going to come out of the boat? We had to take one keel bolt out just to really see where the keel bolts were. At that point, we decided that it was going to be very difficult to get the rest of the keel bolts out, so we've actually cut them where they come through the floors, and then we've had to drop the whole thing from the boat. You can't just go bashing into this. We've had to support the boat in the inside as well to make sure that we don't lose the shape of the boat. But here we are, we have it out. However, it's in a pretty poor condition. We've got major splits which we already knew about. We've also found that the bottom of the keel that had a lump piece put back onto this, that had a bend in it. The other problem with this keel and hog is it's been quite well attacked by marine vertebrates underneath it. Some of it almost looks like a Toledo beetle. I'm not convinced it is, because this boat hasn't been into the warm waters where you would normally pick them up. So coming down the aft end, for some reason the hog, in my view, should come right to the aft, but it's been stopped here. It's been blended in, and then the knee had cheeks put on it to act as the land for the planks to come into. What I'm actually going to do is extend the hog through, which will take us a little bit of calculating, because it obviously needs to come down on this line as we come through, where the plank comes in, and then we'll build a deadwood and a keel underneath the whole thing. You know, having made the decision that we can't put this back in its present state, is actually that we're going to build a complete new one. The types of wood that are possibly available to us, it's going to be hardwood. I mean, top of the range would be teak. That's not going to be available to us, and price-wise, that's going to be well out of it. My main thinking for the keel and the hog are going to be Iroko. Structurally very strong, good structural wood. The rot resistance is very, very good. Has a reputation for being called poor man's teak because it's very oily like teak, but it isn't quite teak. We're not going to be doing it in one big lump. That would be difficult to get a piece of wood that big. So we're going to laminate it in layers and in widths, which will give us a very strong component at the end of it, actually probably much stronger than if we had one solid piece of wood. It'll also be a lot more stable. It won't be so likely to twist and bend as if or crack if we had one very large piece of wood. So there's going to be quite a lot of work on this just to get us back to just our first component in the boat, but it is a very important component. So I think this is going to take perhaps a little bit longer than we originally thought, but it'll be worth it in the end.
At this point, the next step would have been to start making patterns of the keel and hog. Instead, I'll explain better how to pattern when we come to replacing the transom and other components. To be honest, we couldn't take a direct pattern from the keel that came out because it was both twisted and out of shape. Furthermore, the centre line was not correct, so it would have been counterproductive to take a pattern from it at that point.
We already know that the piece that was lumped onto the bottom of this was twisted. You know, that didn't take much of an eye to look that wasn't straight. So we will have to straighten that. We will have to refigure a centre line down the centre of the boat. I want to get that back in there.
The centre line is an imaginary line from bow to stern that divides the boat into two equal halves. In order to hit a correct centre line through the boat, we will need to first establish an accurate reference line. Obviously, Jinnie's centre line is way out. We don't know for how long it's been like this, but it would have certainly affected both the balance and handling of the boat. To achieve an improved centre line, we will measure the midpoints at transom, amidships and bow. We will then run a taut string line from the centre mark at the stern to the centre of the bow. This line represents our new and true centre line. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit using a montage of lovely shots in the workshop. We spent a lot of time cutting lengths of Iroko to size to create Jinnie's new and bespoke hog and keel. it got really dusty and noisy in the workshop here. My voice would have been completely drowned out by the sound of bench saws and routers anyway. You wouldn't have enjoyed it, believe me. So let's get straight to the important job of getting the last layers of the keel built, lining up the new keel with the hog, and then bolting it all together. There promises to be blood, sweat and tears. Maybe not tears.
Oh shit. You alright? I've poked myself in the head and I'm bleeding.
Well, definitely sweat and blood. Having a brand new keel will be a big moment for Jinnie. Once we have that backbone in place, we'll be able to build the rest of the body around it. So he who dares wins, as they say. Just before we get there, there's a couple of essential jobs I need to do. The new keel needs to sit flat against the dead wood. The scarf joint that will attach to a new stem also needs some adjustment.
This is the last piece of wood that's going to go between our dead wood and the first part of our full-length keel. There's just a small slithering gap. Couldn't get the two to quite come together on the flat. So we're going to have to taper this one down where it meets the hog, and there's going to be a slight taper on this last piece between the new keel and the new dead wood. So we're having to make a little sort of jiggery-pokey wedgy piece between the two. We've got to have this dead flat. We've got to have this dead flat in both directions before it will go up problem. If we have a hump in the middle, it's going to touch in the middle as it comes up before not touch at the edges. So we need to plane this dead flat. We can take the worst of it off with the electric planer, but we can't get a perfect surface on that with this. So we take the worst of it off with our electric planer, and then we go back down to our hand planes to take it dead smooth. We need an ultra feather edge on here, and we're going to come up to our thickness, which is 23 mil here. So once I've got it where I think I've got the two lines drawn on the side, I think I'm down right, I'm going to test it with the ruler for this way. And if we actually just have a little look on this side here, we'll see that actually I've got a lump in the middle. I've got gaps at both ends. Yeah, I've got the same there. I'm probably going to have the same here. Yes, I am. So I definitely need to take more out the middle here. I'll then do the same across here to make sure that I've not got a hump in the middle this way, all the way up. That's much better. Although having there is a little bit lumpy there. So I know I've got more to take out the middle on here and a bit on here as well. So we'll gradually just bring this all down with the plane. We can't do that with any other tool. We really need to use our hand tools to get the finish on here.
After spending the next hour or so hand planing the wood, I think I've arrived at the right shape to fit our gap. Let's see if it fits okay.
I do see a slight problem. One of the keel bolts that I haven't fully drilled through yet is actually sticking through down there. So we'll have to remove that first before we try this piece in, but we're getting closer all the time.
With the offending bolt out, let's give it another go.
Okay, that's roughly in position. I will have to just check it at the front end. Obviously now, the two of the keel bolts that were holding that keel up, I've had to remove. So what I'm actually going to do is jack this back up, put a jack underneath and just jack that back up to see how this is fitting. If it's fitting okay, we'll drill the keel bolts right through the wedge and we'll be able to tighten it up properly.
Let's just check the front end and see where we are down there.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Back a bit.
Hold on. I can't see. Yes, just a tad. Whoa.
Yeah?
That's it. That's where it needs to be.
Looks like you've got a pencil line on this.
Right.
And it lines up with the red line on the keel.
Oh, crumbs. How good is that? Lovely. That's it.
Right, let's jack this back up and check it sits flat all the way.
In essence, that's pretty much there. Got a little tiny gap here, which again, by a few more shavings off that back edge will reduce that, and I think then we'll be more or less there, and that's good. So that gives us all of our dead wood, and we're down to the keel. We have got one more layer on the bottom of this keel to go on. So once we've got this fitted, we will be drilling the bolts through, so that'll be the next stage. But yeah, a little bit more off here, and we'll drill those through, and we can tighten the whole lot up and see where we are before we consider what we're going to do at the forward end where the scarf is not quite correct.
With that slither of wood fitted between the first layer of the keel and deadwood, we can now drill through Jinnie's floors, through the hog, into the deadwood and the first layer of the keel. There really is no second chance at this, so it's got to be right. Well, that's a relief. I think we're through. I'll just get the rest of the keel holes done and we'll have a look at that scarf joint up front.
So this is our scarf joint that I've cut in the end of the keel. This is our end of our keel here, coming up the front end. As you can see, it's not quite up here. It's touching here, and I need a little bit more up under this keel to the hog here. So obviously I've got to do a little bit of relief there, which probably means increasing that angle just slightly down so it's parallel here. I'm pretty sure that my scarf joint isn't quite far enough back, so I'll probably be coming down a bit further aft and then in at the correct angle to relieve that so that it all comes up together. Now you might think we've got an awful lot of meat down here in wood from our stem. That's because this stem has been flattened out at some point. So we will be taking this dimension here and paralleling that down. So eventually it'll come down somewhere around here and we'll be running in a nice fair curve all the way down to where our bottom of our keel will eventually come. At the moment I can't really ascertain that, and I'm going to have to cut that off in situ at some point, which is going to be more difficult because we're going to be cutting upside down or through.
I think I can only do this job later when the whole keel is back in place and when tackling the replacement of the stem and apron. Only then will I know what exactly we are dealing with and precisely how much to cut off and where. In the meantime, join me in the next section when we'll be marrying the last layers of the keel together. It's going to be all about timing when we bring the two halves of the keel together. We'll be using a lot of epoxy over a wide surface area. We don't want it to go off too quickly. Time and tide waits for no man, and neither does epoxy. We'll have to work quickly as a team to clamp it all together before it sets. With all that done, we'll be able to complete Mission Possible and get this keel back in. Right, I am absolutely shattered. I'm going to go get some sleep. It's been a long few days. Tomorrow's going to be a crucial moment in the whole process. We've got this far with making a new keel for Jinnie, and there's no turning back now.